welcome back to another video. In today's video, we have another Chelsea news video. Um, I know it says major breaking. There wasn't really much today. So yeah, let's just jump straight into it. To begin, we had very strong links with the Mohamed Kudus today. So there's a ton of tweets on Mohamed Kudus. First, I understand Darko Ball is not the most reliable, but when Simon Phillips reposts something, it probably means it's true, so I decided to include this because this is basically a Simon Phillips report in my eyes. It says, Kudus wants Chelsea. If we don't pay up, he won't come. It's very simple. West Ham will not accept any swap deals. We know this. West Ham wants cash. He has an £85 million release clause, but we can negotiate under for around 60 million, I want to say, would be the number. That we could strike a deal with West Ham for somewhere around the Joao Pedro Gittins money. But yeah, he does want Chelsea. I think he's wanted Chelsea for a while. We were in for him when he was leaving Ajax, but the deal eventually broke down. I don't recall why, to be honest, but he was one of our targets. He's been a long-standing target for Chelsea, and I think we are admirers of him. He's a very good player, very, very good player. I know I said I wasn't the most informed because I didn't watch many West Ham games. I watched a couple full 90s. I watched their game against, I think it was Brighton, where he looked great. I also watched him back because I remember him having a notable performance against Chelsea 2 years ago when we had Pochettino and beat them 5-0 at home. He was absolutely immense in that game, even though they got battered 5-0. He completed like 14 dribbles or 13 dribbles or something like that. So yeah, he's an incredible player. He's really good with the ball at his feet. Versatile, can play across the front three. Pretty much a Joao Pedro, but just a left footer. I think Joao Pedro's both footed, to be honest, but I think he's more predominantly right. But yeah, Kudus wants Chelsea, which is always a good sign. It means that he's always going to favor a move and hold out a little bit, if that makes sense. We know Joao Pedro held out. We know Newcastle agreed a fee with Brighton, but Joao Pedro did not decide to go to Newcastle. He rejected them. Waited for Chelsea to come in. He knew Chelsea was going to come in, so he played the patient game and said, that's where I want to be. I'm going to hold out for a little bit. So I'm hoping that's going to be the case with Kudus, because there is something that we're going to touch to today which may limit the amount of time that we have to make the Kudus deal happen. But moving on, this is where the price tag came in. It's from The Guardian. West Ham are open to an offer of £60 million for Kudus and are attracting interest. Chelsea like that he can play across three positions, but it remains to be seen if they sign another attacker after signing Joao Pedro and Gittins. The three positions are the right wing, and then the 10, and then he can play center forward if he needs to. But the last line, we do want another attacker. That is confirmed. Fabrizio Romano said that yesterday. He reiterated it today. We are looking at a third attacker. It just depends on some things, which I'm going to touch to later in this video. But it's good to know that West Ham are open to an offer, especially £25 million under the release clause, which, again, I touched on it earlier in my video today. The amount of money that we can make in this Club World Cup is very substantial to the level of players we can bring in. If we win the tournament, that's pretty much £100 million in the bank. And then if we make however much on outgoings, we do have a lot of money to spend in this window, to be honest. So an offer of 60 million, yes, it is a lot of money, but I think the way that this summer is going for us, it's a very productive summer, and we haven't even had outgoings yet. It's just really the Club World Cup makes it productive already. I don't think 60 million's the end of the world for us. I think it's something that we can pay. But yeah, it does seem like we are in for another attacker. Moving on to another report. This is also from, or no, I haven't touched on Kieran Gill actually. Simon Phillips and Kieran Gill and Simon Johnson I get mixed up all the time. I don't know why, but this is from the Daily Mail. It says Chelsea have not ruled out swooping in for Mohamed Kudus, but the belief is that they need to do some selling first. This is what I said I was going to touch to. Yeah, we need to focus on our outgoings, getting the likes of Nkunku, who scored, but, still going to leave the club. Nkunku, KDH, who I'd actually like to stay. I think he's perfectly suited for the role he plays, just being a fringe player. Vega, Chilwell, Disasi, maybe Badiashile, never know. Potentially Jackson and Madueke. Who else is there? There's definitely more that I'm just missing. Maybe Ugo Chukwu, getting the loan sorted out for Tyreek. there's tons of players that are Raheem Sterling that are just gonna leave the club, and we do need to just sell on so we can get the money, so we can see how much we have to work with. Um, so that's what I was saying. It may be a lengthy process to sign Mohamed Kudus. It's not gonna happen like a Joao Pedro deal where it just happens within 2 days. We register him for the Club World Cup. He plays maybe a game or two for us in the Club World Cup, and that's about it. We only have 3 games left. But yes, there are some times in between the games. I know play on the 4th of July, then I think we play on the 9th, and then we play on the 15th. So there is time between the games. But yeah, it's gonna be a lengthy process because we need to focus on players leaving the club before we go in for Mohamed Kudus. But I think there's a couple more things to say. Yeah, this is also the same report, but it's from Simon Phillips. Basically, it doesn't matter that we agreed deals for Joao Pedro or Jimmy Gittins. We haven't ruled out Mohamed Kudus as a target, and it may be 3 attackers in this window, or I guess 4 if you want to account for Liam Delap. It's a whole new front 4 if you want to say Delap with Pedro behind, Kudus on the right, Gittins on the left. That's a pretty much whole new front 4, which if you told me that coming into this window, I would be ecstatic about. Um, we desperately needed a striker. We desperately needed a left winger. We desperately need depth. And we desperately need, um, I think, more of a creative dribbling. I'm gonna come at you right winger because yes, Madueke is very direct in his dribbling, but um, he's really good on one-on-one situations. But it seems like he's just stalled a little bit, maybe lost a little bit of confidence because it just seems like he's passing the ball back with Kudus. He's always gonna drive at you regardless of what opportunity he has. Um, yeah, I'd be ecstatic if we brought all 4 of those players in. We have 3 of the 4, and it's a potential to get 4 of the 4. Yeah, but if you told me that coming into the window, I would have said if we address the defense, if we address goalkeeper, we pretty much had one of our best windows under Clear Lake so far. Because it would mean that Palmer can play. There's so much depth, and we have so many competitions that if Kudus comes in, we're pretty much set. Yes, probably one of Jackson or Madueke would have to leave if Kudus comes in, but again, he provides depth to 3 positions, while Jackson pretty much only a striker. He can play on the left wing if need be, but we haven't really seen him there. Mariska hasn't really tried him there, so don't know about that. Madueke can play on the right and left, but so can Kudus, and Kudus can also play center forward, and he can play the 10. So it's cover on multiple positions. So if you're looking at a lineup for next season, you can see the lap up top, you can see Kudus up top, you can see Pedro up top, and then also you can see Kudus on the right, you can see Neto on the right, you can see Pedro on the left, Gittins on the left, you can see Pedro at the 10, Palmer at the 10, Kudus at the 10. There's a lot of depth there if we bring in Kudus as well as Pedro because they cover 4 positions of the front 4. I'd say Pedro 3. I don't think he can play the right wing, but Kudus can play across the entire front 4 if need be. He can play the 8 as well if he's a box crashing 8. He's a very versatile player. So watching him, I did watch a couple games of him. I wasn't gonna tell y'all that I really like the player. I've watched him a ton when I really in reality hadn't. But I did go and watch a couple games. I did really like what I saw. I think he's best on that right hand side or that 10, creating through the middle, or cutting in on his left and creating in that right hand side channel that Palmer creates on. But yeah, it's a signing that I would like to make, to be honest, and I think it's something that would bolster the squad and, in a sense, raise the floor. But I don't know if it's a ceiling raiser, but I do definitely know it's a floor raiser, and I think it'd keep us pretty much perfect where we are in top 4, top 3 conversations. And then I think this is the last report. Yeah, Sky Sports reported that Chelsea are still interested in Mohamed Kudus despite having agreed deals for Joao Pedro and Jimmy Gittins. We know this already. But this is the other clubs interested because we knew other clubs were interested. We just didn't know who. They're monitoring Kudus' situation closely with Tottenham and Newcastle also keen. Newcastle, everyone's rejected them. I don't know why. Besides goalkeeper James Trafford. Sorry, I was messing up on the name. Yeah, James Trafford is the only one who's really shown any interest. And it seems like he's headed over there. But other than that, no one's really going to Newcastle. Obviously, Joao Pedro rejected them. Alanga isn't going there. Force isn't selling, but I do think he'd want to go there. But yeah, Newcastle haven't really brought anyone in, so they do definitely have money to spend, and I think Kudus could be where they allocate their money. Tottenham as well. I know they're interested in Eze, but there was a report not too long ago by David Ornstein that Arsenal are not interested in Everich Eze, but they haven't made official steps yet or approached Crystal Palace at all. We know that Tottenham are very interested, but they took a step back. I don't know if the price drove them away or something, but Kudus is about the same price as Eze, so I wouldn't think so if they're in for Kudus. I don't know what would have happened there. Maybe Palace are playing hardball or something, but Tottenham are keen on Mohamed Kudus and they're intensifying talks, and Newcastle are as well. But yeah, that's all Mohamed Kudus. That's pretty much an 11-minute ramble on just Mohamed Kudus, but I do like the player. It's someone that I would like to bring in, and I think it's someone that would massively help us out with the amount of games that we have next season. But we know that, oh, excuse me, there we are. We know that we have, oh, sorry, one last thing on Kudus. This was reposted today by Max London's first, that here in Kudus could be another option, or here in Kudus or another wing option could also be on if we sell Madueke. That was from June 28th, but it was reposted today, so it seems like it's something that's apparent, and I just felt like I'd share it with y'all because, again, it's a transition into what I was about to say with the outgoings are very important into what we want to do, and I think Kudus is that option that if we sell a Madueke, if we sell a Jackson, would be brought into this club, and that is what's said here, that the focus is on outgoings. Nasar Cancella says that sources say that Chelsea will now slow their activity on incomings and focus on the difficult task of player sales. Nani Madueke could be moved on. Pretty weird that it was just an individual name brought out when we know there's a whole bomb squad. Joao Felix there too that I forgot to mention earlier. Yeah, there's a whole bomb squad of players, but Nani Madueke was singled out. I guess it's because he's someone that's genuinely in the 11 and plays. But yeah, apparently he can be moved on. But this is why I say I think Kudus will be a lengthy process because we need to let go of players that want to be let go of or genuinely just need to be let go of, that don't have a spot at this club anymore, like Joao Felix, who I don't think is ever going to put on a Chelsea shirt again, or Renato Vega, who burnt bridges at this club, but I do think could be a viable option here. So yeah, we're gonna pretty much focus on the outgoings, and then however much money we make there, we're gonna allocate to bring in players. And Nani Madueke could be one of those players that we bring in money for. And speaking of which, Sam Wallace said that Madueke has attracted interest this summer, including from Arsenal and potentially Newcastle. I've always had this feeling that he ends up at Newcastle, especially with them getting Champions League. I don't know why. I just feel like he's going to go to Newcastle, but apparently Mikel Arteta, Alex Goldberg reported today on his show, really wants Madueke to come through the door, be depth for Bukayo Saka, or start on that left-hand side sometimes. So maybe he goes to Arsenal, but I don't know. I have that weird feeling that he goes to Newcastle for 50 million to play on that right-hand side. And I think that's a very viable thing, to be honest. I think they desperately need someone on that right-hand side, and I think Madueke could be the perfect player for them because we know they love their transition football, and I think he's perfect at that. He has pace, and he has the ability to beat defenders one-on-one, and you're predominantly one-on-one when you're playing in transition. So I do think Newcastle will be a perfect fit for Madueke, and I could see him really going there. I just have a gut feeling that he does end up going there for around 50 million. But moving on, we had links, but I didn't think they were very strong to Antonio Silva. But the more I thought about it, the stronger it got, and it was reported by multiple people, so I decided to include it in this video rather than the last news video that I did. So Simon Phillips reported on June 29th, which was 2 days ago, a day ago pretty much. It's 2:30 in the morning, so it's technically 2 days ago, but it was really a day ago, that Chelsea are still trying for Kudus as well, as Maresca's other wants are a goalkeeper and center back. Antonio Silva was scouted again last night, and he has been on the shortlist for some time. Chelsea rejected a chance to go for John Duran this week too. And then he says, as always, more on my site every day, and there's a link to his site below. So yeah, it seems like we're trying to sign Kudus, but Maresca's asking for a new goalkeeper who I expect to be Mike Mignon. I think everyone thinks that we're going to go back for him. throughout the window. Yes, Chelsea have briefed that they're happy with the four goalkeepers they have, but Petrovic is going to leave for 25 million pounds. Potentially Sanchez leaves. Maybe Jorgensen out on loan to Strasbourg or permanent to Strasbourg, or Penders on loan to Strasbourg, something like that. So we are gonna look for a new goalkeeper. I think if someone does come in, then Sanchez leaves. Um, and then it says a center back, which Antonio Silva scattered again, who is a center half, looked great against Chelsea. Very young talent, very good talent. I know he has like an 85 million pound release clause. It's similar to the EKTK one where it's 100 million euros, but I do think Benfica would probably negotiate lower. I don't think he's worth all that money, but he is a very good young prospect. Looked very calm on the ball against Chelsea. I'm not gonna say I've watched a lot of Benfica games because I haven't, but the name Antonio Silva has been around for a long time, so it genuinely just gives you a good, confident feeling when you're talking about the player, knowing that they've been around for so long and they're only 22 or somewhere around that age. But definitely going to watch a lot more Benfica games to give you a more in-depth analysis on Antonio Silva. But again, looked very calm, looked very composed, very good with the ball at his feet um, against Chelsea. And also the games I have watched of Benfica in the Champions League, he's always featuring there. And I think Otamendi has helped him grow massively, because that's the perfect balance. You know, you have the experience, you have the CV in Otamendi, and then you have the guy that's been brought up for some time in Antonio Silva. But it could be time for him to move from Benfica to a bigger club, and Chelsea could be that club for him. As there's more on Antonio Silva, um, Simon Phillips reposted this, but it was also reported by Max London's First that we watched Silva, and then there's also contacts over Hato. However, it mostly depends on how the outgoings are to see what the club can bring in. Basically affirming that Antonio Silva was scouted. He's most likely on our short list, and this was the last report that he was scouted by Chelsea yesterday night. um, I watched the Eunice video of this. I did not know yesterday night was a word. He said that it was. I know yesterday's a word, so I guess yesterday night has to be a word, but I never knew that term until pretty much when it was brought to my attention. I thought it was always just, oh, it was yesterday, but apparently yesterday night's a word. But yeah, he was scouted by Chelsea. He's on our short list. Don't know if contacts are going to take place, but you know, maybe there is some movement there for Antonio Silva. And to wrap up, 2 hours ago, Fabrizio Romano said that Joao Pedro has completed his medical as a new Chelsea player. So, welcome, Joao Pedro. Gonna get registered soon. It is now Tuesday, so this is the day I think we expect the official announcement for Pedro, or perhaps him joining Chelsea in most likely a light training session. I know he had 2 days off after the Benfica game, so maybe it's a light training session for Joao Pedro today. Um, just understanding what Maresca wants to do, but he completed his medical. He is now a Chelsea player. Documents are going to be signed today as well, and the Joao Pedro deal is now done. But yeah, that is everything. That is the news roundup for yesterday and portions of the days before that just got reposted and re-brought to our attention that I felt were necessary to report to y'all. So yeah, that is everything. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to like and subscribe. And as always, it's Repulse, and I'm out. Thank you again. Peace.